Well, hello and welcome. My name is Velma. You can connect with me at velmanolds.com. This is all about your leadership chat. What does that mean? You get to listen in on valuable insights from valuable leaders just like you. I want to encourage you to go ahead and subscribe so that you never miss another episode. And if this is of value to you, please share the nuggets that you're going to take away from all these great leaders. Please give a big welcome to my good friend and your valuable leader, Brogan. Brian, welcome to your leadership chat.
Velma, it is so great to be here with you today and hear your energetic voice and be interviewed by you. Thank you.
Hey, no, my pleasure. Hey, so Brian, to kick things off, I would love for you to tell the listeners a little bit about you and what you do on a daily basis.
Well, I'm a 46-year-old middle-aged guy, and I tell everybody I was looking for a job, and I stumbled upon a very rewarding career in construction. I barely graduated high school.
Wow.
So I found this job, and it led into things that I could never imagine were possible, including being on a launch pad at NASA, doing some amazing projects at Disney, getting to travel all over the Southeast for some major power plant projects. But number one, I guess what kind of transformed me and made me realize I love building people as much as I love building buildings is I got to go into the high schools and mentor high school students and tell them, pay attention. This stuff is important. You're gonna use this later in life.
Right.
So I just found out and discovered that I love building people, and that's what we're doing today. Today we're a coach, trainer, and speaker, and we get to go out and help businesses improve their communication and increase their efficiencies. And it's a lot of fun, and it's great to see people develop and build themselves.
Wow. And you could just, you just ooze with passion whenever you start talking about it. It just pours out of you. You could just tell how much you really love to want to help people, to build them up, regardless if they're in the classroom all the way to the boardroom, right? You want to build them up and make them more valuable leaders in their life and their career and their business. So that's super. Thank you for sharing that. And so, Brian, my first question is around, there's people in our lives that make an impact. And then there are people in our lives that make this valuable impact that we say, wow, my life is totally different. I feel more like I am coming into myself. I'm a better leader. I'm a better person because someone cared enough and they valued me and helped me to see my value. So could you share with us who in your life is or has been a valuable leader? And why would Brian say that?
Well, that's an easy one for me. A guy, his name's Steve Howell. I worked with him during my 28 years in construction at the same company. He was my boss.
Right.
And I remember a specific story where I was a young guy. In fact, I started working at 17. I graduated early. I started kindergarten early, so I was 17. I wasn't able to work on the heavy equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And when I turned 18, I was excited that I got to go out and work with the equipment, with the construction guys, and build things and fabricate things. And as a 17-year-old, I had the opportunity to go pick up parts and drive to the different supply houses and get tools and materials for the jobs. Well, when I turned 18 and got on one of the crews, we were in need of a tool, and I knew where to get it because I had been what they call a gopher.
Hey, I've been there.
And so I went to go get this tool, and I'd come back expecting to be the hero. And when I got back, the supervisor said, "Where have you been? What were you doing?" And I was like, "Well, we needed this tool." And I went and got it so we could stay productive.
Right.
And he said, "You can't do that. You have to have permission to do these things." So I got to go to the big boss's office, which happened to be this gentleman, Steve Howell. And I get to his office, and he was a great mentor. He knew how to coach and train people. And he said to me, he said, "Brian, I love your aggression." He said, "I love the fact that you're an aggressive person. You like to get things done." He said, "However, to be successful, you're going to have to harness that aggression." And I learned so much from that simple conversation about harnessing aggression. In fact, I use it throughout my career with other people when I see the same thing. This person's very aggressive, but they need to learn to find their boundaries and their guardrails to keep things in line. And, in business, you have policies and procedures and things that people need to do. And aggressive people have to understand that and get on board with that.
Yeah, no, and what a great story about Steve and, his impact and the fact that he cared enough about you. You felt like, hey, I'm going in there to get reprimanded, right? And, criticized. And he actually was coaching you. It was a coaching moment, not a criticism, and helping you to really kind of just see the difference between, how you take this initiative that appears to be this aggressiveness and channel that into more assertiveness, moving that from what may perceive to be, going against the grain to actually being someone that is, helping to move the organization by solving a problem, which is what, leaders do. We solve problems. That's an awesome story. And I totally understand what the gopher is. I laughed when you said it because I always describe my first job out of high school back in the Bahamas. I always say, I went to work for this small nonprofit. And I like to say I was the gopher. I would go for this and go for that. I would run errands to the bank, pick up lunch for the board members, take meeting notes. You do everything, especially in a small nonprofit, but you learn so much about the value of service through that type of role. And so I can see that here today, but awesome. Well, thank you. Now, Brian knows what it takes to be a leader. He's coaching your building. That's what your company, what was planted then as a seed is now growing in your own business. And so my second question is, so tell us a little bit about how do you personally, professionally impact other people to help them become valuable leaders, to help them to, reap the benefits of what Steve did in your life. How do you do that, Brian?
Well, Velva, I strive to help people improve communication. For decades now, communication has been the number one problem in business.
Yeah.
And so, hey, if we could just fix communication, everything will be better. I love to teach people how to communicate better with each other and how to understand each other. In fact, that example we used with Steve, he understood me and my personality, but he understood that my strength could be my weakness.
Yes.
And so when you overuse your strengths, they can become weaknesses. And I love to help people recognize that, learn about themselves. We use the DISC profile personality assessments. We use the 360 assessment so that your peers and your direct reports and those around you can tell you how they perceive you, and you can better understand the way you come across to others.
Right.
And helping people find that and discover that and then use it as a tool to improve and grow has helped me immensely. When I started in construction, here's some of the things they used to say. We only need you from the shoulders down. I tore him up one side and down the other.
Wow.
Those type of things that you realize, is that really the person you want working for you? Somebody that's not thinking,
right?
Someone that you just tore down. And I realized, no, we want to build people up and we want to grow and develop people. So that's my mission today.
Oh man, I love it. And I love the whole build concept. Build consulting is your company, and you go in and you coach, train, and you speak around building others up. I love that passion. And that's what was done for you. And that's what you're now passing along, paying it forward to do for others. Okay. So look how well you're doing. You look doing really well here today. You're just building me up for the next question, which is, I want you to think about this question for a minute because it's got long-lasting impact, and this is the long game here. So if you had to think about one big takeaway, and I know I'm really, pushing the needle to say just one, but one big takeaway that you would want to leave with listeners here to give to them and to share that would help them become more of a valuable leader in their life, their career, and their business, what would that one big takeaway be, Brian?
Well, let's talk about small things as the big takeaway.
Ooh, I love it.
I love to use in my training and seminars little bricks, and I talk about how one brick is a paperweight.
Right.
But you take a lot of bricks, and when I'm talking about, typically I'm using either task or personnel. So you can do it with both task and initiatives and things. As we stack those up, they become a wall. Four walls become a building. Wow. And also, if you're talking about people, we're building an organization that is if you'll notice, when blocks are laid, they're intertwined with each other, and it makes them stronger. Those connection points are so much stronger. And I've been teaching this for a while, but on Monday during a Martin Luther King event, I heard a guy speaking about "You Matter." It was an amazing speech. He did a wonderful job. His name's Kelvin McCree. If you want to check out Dr. Kelvin.
I didn't find the speech, but I commented on your post because I thought it was, just so valuable that you shared that moment and, the impact. And I was like, the speech wasn't there, so I didn't know how to get to it. But I did see your post. You probably, I don't know if you saw my comment for you, but yeah.
I did. And thank you for engaging there.
Yeah.
Again, small things.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there and having that thought about how you matter and how what you do matters. And I had this thought. The next big thing is made up by many small threads.
Wow.
So, we see people coming to overnight success, and we hear our friend John Maxwell talk about, if you want to do what I've done, you got to do what I did. Well, you see these people that are very successful, and you think, wow, they just came into my view, and now they're an overnight success. They've been working on it for years.
Right.
And so you need to pay attention and realize I'm working towards my goal. I'm only competing with myself. I'm not competing with Velma. I'm not competing with Dr. Kelvin McCree. As long as I can be better every day and make incremental steps, consistency compounds. And so I would say small steps will get you to where you go. Put one foot in front of the other and keep going forward.
Oh, wow. I love it. Yeah. You know what? It's so true that I think I know, and I've been guilty of this. We get so focused on, it's got to be this big thing that you do, this big, impact, this big mission. But in reality, if you just show up every day and be the best that you can be, you're going to bring out the best in others. And that's my mission. So that's pretty powerful. I love that big, take it from the small steps consistently every day, and it's going to compound. We know that for sure. Okay. Well, I know that you are a published author of several books. I also know that you are a podcast host. I mean, you got so much stuff going on. I'd love to give you the opportunity now. Can you share with the listeners and let us know first how we could contact you, how they could, learn more about you, learn what you do, follow you. Can you tell us a little bit about your books, the podcast, and how to connect with you?
Well, Velma, let me just start off with saying 10 years ago, if you would have told me I'd have been a podcast host and an author of a few books, I would have told you were crazy. I shared with you earlier, I barely graduated high school, and English was my least favorite subject.
Me too, man.
But I love telling stories, and I love helping people, and I realized I can do that through written word. Yeah. So I became a pilot at 40 years old. I fulfilled a lifelong dream. I'm one of those guys that watched the first Top Gun and thought, I want to be a pilot. And I did do that because, hey, I barely graduated high school. So as I did my construction career, I decided, eventually when I can afford this, I'm going to give it a whirl. So at 40 years old, I set the monumental goal. I'm going to become a pilot. And then I wrote the book 100-Hour Pilot. It's all about that experience of becoming a pilot as a middle-aged man and fulfilling a lifelong goal. That was a lot of fun. And then because of the podcast, and I started my podcast, I said, I'm going to do 52 episodes, whether someone listens to me or not. And now when I look back and realize that 52 weeks of consistency, small things, hey, spending that time to do that, I've met some over 150 amazing guests we've had on the show now, people that I wouldn't even believe would want to talk to me. Hey, I get to meet Velma Knowles because of this.
Hey.
Awesome that we have got to build it. So we created a book called Voices for Leadership, and I invited these leaders on my podcast and then others outside to join me in a book, in an anthology. I had to learn what the word anthology meant. I didn't know what it even meant till I did this book. And hey, again, I had no idea. I didn't sit down and vision cast where I am today, but when I look back and see the small steps I took to get here, I realized I was on that path all along.
Wow. And so the podcast is called what again?
It's the Build Your Success Podcast.
Build Your Success Podcast. And then what's the best way for folks to connect with you or follow you? What would be the best way to contact you?
I would love you to give me a call at 863-800-9658. I love to speak to people. I'm going to answer the phone. I'm not so busy that I can't answer the phone. If you leave me a message for some reason, I'm in a meeting or something, I'll call you back. Yeah. That's one way. You can also reach me at brianb@buildcs.net, our website, buildcs.net. We've got blogs there, articles you can read about leadership and different techniques. So
thank you. I'm totally surprised, and I'm pleasantly surprised. But I'm not so surprised that it's, you know, something that you wouldn't do, because you're just that kind of person, and that speaks volumes to your commitment to want to build up others. I mean, the guy gave out his phone number. Come on, man, you don't get any better than that. You know, I love it, and that's so. I mean, I'm just blown away, Brian. Thank you so much. What a generous heart you have. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Velma. I enjoyed this interview, and you ask a lot of amazing questions, and you're doing great for the world.
Hey, no, my pleasure. And I just want to thank you again so much for being on Your Leadership Chat. Thanks. Hey, thanks so much for watching another episode of Your Leadership Chat. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button here and tap that bell icon so that you never miss another episode. I hope too that you'll give us a thumbs up on the video for a like. And then if you feel led, please share the video with those who need to see it. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time on Your Leadership Chat. Bye for now.